Good morning, everybody. I'm John Self. Welcome to Career Live. We're delighted you're here. This is a normal Thursday morning get together where we discuss a little bit about some of the news and some of the trends in job search. This week we focused on Wednesday. On Tuesday, we had an excellent lunch and learn. It's available on YouTube at Guiding Your Career, johngself.com. I think you'll find that of interest. We talked about the essential habits that you have to use in order to be successful. And then yesterday, we talked about some best practices to avoid going crazy. And for some of my friends out there that are in the job market, going crazy is exactly how they feel. Everything they tried that they knew before in the past that always worked doesn't work anymore. And that great resume that they spent a lot of money on several years ago, they've updated it with information, doesn't work anymore. So there's a lot of frustration, a lot of craziness in the market. And there's a lot of craziness, in the country too. We start off this morning just kind of looking over some news items that caught my attention. An AARP study said a significant a number of people in the U.S. that are 50 years and older are not retired and do not anticipate ever retiring. Additionally, 70% express concern about the potential for prices to outpace their income. Now, disturbingly, the report said 1 in 4 Americans have no retirement savings at all, a fact that highlights the increasing financial struggle they face in making ends meet. And certainly that I know people that are struggling in that area. The economy is really good for some people, others not so much. While the AARP survey suggests that the economy has achieved a soft landing after 2 years, the investment letter from J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon did not agree with them completely. I think it's important to realize that you may need to work longer. You may want to work longer, extend your career, but you got to have a plan. Ageism is a real major problem. There are a lot of elderly people who are being phased out. They're doing a good job, but it's just an age issue. And so, and it's very hard to prove. You can't, unlike some other forms of discrimination, ageism is one of the toughest things to prove in the court. Meanwhile, Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan, he's more concerned about the high levels of U.S. debt and the Fed's quantitative easing. He said both could trigger recessions later this year or into next, and I think he's primarily looking at 2025. He also is concerned about the geopolitical instability and the new alliance between China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Now, he's a big banker. He doesn't want to say things that upset people, so he wants to kind of strike a moderate medium pose. So he says a lot, but there's not a lot of substance about that. But those are his concerns. He now gives soft landing a long odd. He doesn't think that it's something that can pass. Now, one of the interesting things, there was a lot of push about we shouldn't be spending money on Ukraine, but a substantial amount of those funds, the billions of dollars, will actually be spent in the U.S., creating jobs in states like Pennsylvania, Alabama, Illinois, and Florida. As I said earlier, in June, defense contractor General Dynamics of Fort Worth will open a new factory in Dallas, creating more jobs. So the job creation is not really been a problem. In fact, Catherine Rappel of the Washington Post did a column yesterday that basically said immigration has gotten back to pre-pandemic areas. We're not talking about the illegal immigration or the massive number of people seeking asylum at the border. It's not open border, but they with the asylum laws and rules, that might as well be. So anyway, that's an issue. But they say that one of the reasons that things are getting back to normal is because we're getting more immigrant labor who are doing jobs that Americans just didn't want to do. And so that's kind of an interesting position. Finally, I saw this interesting note. Mark Zuckerberg is going all in on AI. He predicts that it will be a major, major part of the Meta business. And this year alone, they're going to spend $40 billion on AI advancements. So I thought that's kind of interesting. Finally, in a Annenberg poll that I'm looking at regarding communication with the younger generation, so far, there's an even split between the candidates about who will be better for the country in terms of shareholder demands on companies for engage in social issues. Company engagement with social issues will increase. Both candidates draw pretty much close numbers to each other. So I thought that was kind of interesting on some of the key issues. A lot of it is a lot of atmospherics. So there you go. Today we want to talk about a little about the updating career management. And clearly the job market is continuing to be, jobs are being created, but jobs in management and executive areas continue to be highly competitive. So when you see all the market information about, jobs created, new people going to work, that sort of thing, a lot of that is in the mid-range, lower-level areas where there are, great shortages. And so the country is getting back in sync. Now, the good news is that even though the management and executive job search things are pretty competitive, you're still in control. And I think your imagination and the technology that's emerging, when you combine those things, it makes your career dreams possible. So if you're not happy doing what you're doing, nothing's going to change until you start thinking about that. So this week's news and review, we've completed that now. And so it's kind of what it's been before. There'll be a jobs report number out probably, or unemployment number out today, and another report number tomorrow. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens. Inflation has been tracking, core inflation's been tracking about where it has been, ticked up a little bit last month. So the Fed has not done the interest rate cuts that a lot of people are asking for. And that may not be such a great thing for the economy. So another thing we did not touch in the news summary is that FTC overruled the non-compete clause. That has significant advantages. Now, the FTC maintains that although not-for-profits are generally exempt from this, they maintain that because of their business strategy and the money they take from the federal government, they fall under the FTC's jurisprudence or scope of control or scope of influence in terms of regulation. Hospitals have kicked not surprisingly, hospitals have really complained about this and say it's going to destroy their business structure, where the FTC said it'll actually be better and create more jobs, and they cited some numbers for that. It's going to be challenged in court, and probably I think cases are already being filed. So we'll just kind of like the Biden administration initiative to reduce certain pharmaceutical costs. It's now been approved by Congress and signed into law. And the pharmacy companies are saying Congress had no constitutional authority to do that. So, the big daddy at Big Pharma wants to maintain their margins. And some of these negotiations won't really affect it that much. They're just more worried about the erosion on profits. Polarization continues, as that survey from Annenberg and Marriott showed. And who knows what's going to happen, but it will be a turbulent summer and into the fall. Strategic adjustments. Now, this is a new corporate speak for layoffs. They are continuing, and they're not big, massive layoffs. They're 200, 300, 100, 200, 500, and they're flying under the radar. Tesla cut back significantly. They're now being scrutinized for violating the WARN Act, which means that if you have 100 or more employees, you've got to give them 60 days notice. And, Elon Musk does things the way he wants to, and the heck with the laws, and you can think of several other people that applies to. But anyway, strategic adjustments continue, and that means that layoffs will continue, which adds a tinge of instability in the job market. I think layoffs, and the people I talk to around the country, and I've been on the phone a lot this past week, layoffs are just going to be part of our new normal. And so people who really get concerned about, job stability, there have been some stories where people have lost 2 or 3 jobs, lost a job, got laid off, got a new job, got laid off, got a new job, and got laid off. So this is in certain part of the economy, it's really been pretty devastating. So that's why there's a lot of polarization. That's why there's a lot of instability, even though the economy overall, I'm going to use this good in air quotes, good based on everything else that's going on, but that's a relative term. Somebody says, how you doing compared to what? So, but if you listen to the pundits, and that's kind of what we have to go on right now. And there are people that vehemently disagree. The economy is doing good. Lower income people are not doing so well because of high prices. So we'll see if the continuing improvements in the supply side process will improve that the price of food, et cetera. We're coming into the summer months, so fuel cost will go up. I think the best advice, and we talked about this on Tuesday and Wednesday, the best advice for you is to be job search ready. Because of ongoing layoffs, strategic realignments, it's really important. Because if you're not ready, if you haven't updated your resume in 5 or 6 years, if you don't know all the new rules, you're going to add anywhere from 60 to 90 days to your job search. That's minimum. Because you're going to have to, you're behind the curve so bad, it's going to take you a while. You're going to have to hire a coach and try to accelerate that, or you're going to do trial and error, and that's going to help extend your search even more. It used to be a management or executive position. The time to hire was 4 to 6 months. And that was fairly typical for CEOs and other things. Now, those positions are anywhere from 8 to 14 months. 8 to 14 months. Now you compare that with what is the average severance they're offering. For a C-suite, it's all over the place, usually reasonable packages. But for vice presidents down to managers, it's between 30 and 180 days. That's it. So if it's going to take you 8 to 14 months and you got 180 days of severance, you see the problem. So you really, really must be job search ready on an ongoing basis. And as you move forward, automation, job consolidation, increased competition, these things are going to continue to create turmoil in the market. And so you really need to pay attention to those metrics. You need to be sure that you're meeting the metrics in your career plan and that you're meeting or exceeding, and my recommendation is exceed performance expectations in your job, because that's really kind of important. Because this is a tough time for applicants. I mean, it's really frustrating. The consolidation and reduction is not that occurred during the pandemic has not really reversed itself. Those jobs continue to be very, very tight. As I just said, average severance payments are 30 to 180 days for managers, directors, and vice presidents, and it's 8 to 14 months to get a new job. Now, some managers lower level are finding they can jump that quicker, but the time to hire is continuing to go up. And online applications, there's plenty of reports out there and anecdotal research where it took numerous people, at least 100 applications just to get 1 or 2 offers. And we had one of those in our membership group, he'd always been very good at finding new jobs. He'd always worked, so he was working that plan. It wasn't working for him. It took him over a year, and at the end, he had 2 offers. That's a lot of work and not much return. We said in our presentation on Tuesday, the real importance is to develop good habits. Now good habits in healthcare when you have good processes, and that those processes are so embedded into the environment and the culture that they become cultural habits. That's when you get the best care. That's when you get the best service, and that's when the patient is truly pushed first. You have to have the same kind of commitment to having good habits when it comes to networking, when it comes to your career plan, when it comes to performance. And we're telling people now that if they're in the job market, you're going to have to spend 4 to 6 hours Monday through Thursday in the office. Friday is a good catch-up day. Friday's a good day to take your journal and your logs and add new names to if you've talked to new people this week, add new names to your database. You must keep a database now going forward. And that you spend time each day talking to people on the phone, not your friends who can't help you, but good to be supportive, and that's important. But you need to be talking to people in your connections group who can help you move into your targeted range of jobs. And that group of connections, that group of contacts, should be about 135 to 145 people, and it should really align with your career plan. And you've got to spend time talking to those people, because connections won't make a job referral. It's a relationship, and you have to build that. And it takes some risks. So I just put that out there and continue to say that you have to have good habits. You need to talk to new people each week. Don't keep talking to the same people who haven't helped you yet. Talk to new people, and really decide what you want. I know several people, they're getting a lot of calls from recruiters, and it's keeping them busy, but they're not necessarily for jobs that are really what they want to do. And my advice to you is don't waste time. Define what you want and go after it. The jobs are out there. It's just that it takes a lot of effort because so many of them aren't published. So it takes a lot of effort to get to that point. And it won't happen if you're on the golf course, you're in the garden, or playing bridge or mahjong or whatever it is you do. You have to spend time in the office. You have to talk to people that are in your connections group. You need to look for additional people that you can connect with. You may have been very strategic and picked 4 or 5 people, let's say, in the Milwaukee area. Now, that's where you want to be. There's some good organizations there that align with your career goals. And you pick some people, but as you go forward, you may discover new people. So you're constantly trying to update your list. A networking list, connections list, is never just a static thing. It's, I've got 145 names now. Now I can go find a job. No, it's something that's very dynamic, and you're always adding or taking away from that list. So I want to tell you a little bit about the things we have coming up this week. Tomorrow we have our Your Career Questions at 11 a.m. And then at 9 a.m. Saturday, the thing that's taking up a big part of my bandwidth is we are producing a Your Career Boot Camp. That's about 3.5 hours long. Our keynote speaker is Ron Thomas of Dubai. Now, Ron came from this small little South Carolina town where his father had a taxi cab company. And here he's an African-American guy in South Carolina. And he made a deal with his father that he would drive the cab for the early morning calls, and that would be his contribution. But after a while, that kind of getting up that early kind of got old. And his father said, "You made a deal, son." So he learned some great lessons working for his father. He went on to graduate from college. He worked for IBM and some other places. Before he went overseas as an expat working overseas, he was the CHRO, Chief Human Resource Officer, for Martha Stewart's company. So he and Martha are continue to be friends and chat periodically. He moved initially to Saudi Arabia and then up to Dubai, where he has built a pretty impressive consulting practice, hosts a weekly interview with CEOs or senior executives on YouTube, and it's usually has very informative leaders. It's not too glitzy. It's just a good conversation. So Ron Thomas will be here, and he's going to share his story, and he's going to share some tips on how he has been able to reinvent himself and elevate his career internationally. And then at 10 o'clock in the morning, or 10:30 in the morning, our friend T.D. Smyers, who was one of our self-perspective interviews, former naval captain and former commander of the Joint Base Carswell in Fort Worth, will be with us. He is now a career coach, and his area of specialization is helping people who get jobs and how they can move through, accelerate their performance, and not get caught in a trap that's catching a lot of executives, that they are not delivering what they should do, or there's miscommunications between the board or the direct report, and you're not doing what they want you to do, and then they say, well, we're going to make a change. You just didn't fit in here. And that happens between 50 and 70% of the time, according to one very reliable study, and that number has been pretty constant since the early 70s. So T.D. Smyers, who in his naval career would get assigned to new jobs every 2 years as a general rule, and if those people, if that new job, if that new company, if that new wing was screwed up, too bad. You got to fix it, and you've got 2 years to do it. And he said at the Naval Promotion Board, there's one thing that's written, in everybody's brain: sustained superior performance. They want to be sure that I don't care how tough the challenge was, I don't care how ineffective the commanding officer was. You're now in this job, and it's your job to fix it, and you have 2 years. And so, and if you make a mistake or if you don't do something, your career could be over. And if you're not in 20 years, your retirement could be zip. So there's a lot of accountability and a lot of pressure. And he's going to talk about lessons that he's learned in making those transitions in jobs. So I'm looking forward to hosting those two guys. Then we will also talk about the resume, the job interview. We've got some good information on the art of interviewing. We'll be talking about networking 3.0, which is essential, absolutely essential. I don't know why anybody would not have a network when they know how grueling, how depressing it can be. So that's all coming up on Saturday. So remember now, tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we have our Your Career Questions. If you have questions you would like answered, email me at info@johnGself.com. That's info@johnGself.com. If you'll send those emails in, we'll get them on. We do not use your name. We will use your first name and city. If it's a small city, we'll just use your first name and state. So we try to keep your confidence close to the chest. So that's tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. And then the boot camp is at 9 a.m. on Saturday. We've got a lot of work to do there still. It'll be a busy couple of days, but we're looking forward to it. And we hope you can join us. You need to register. It's limited registration. If you once you're registered, even if you've got social or family interruptions on that Saturday morning time slot, you will have access to the tapes for 60 days following the completion of the boot camp. So I hope this has been good information for you. If you have things you want us to cover here on Your Career Live, email me at info@johnGself.com, and we'll be happy to address those issues. If you have regular basic career questions, check in with us tomorrow on Your Career Questions here at johnGself.com. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week and a good Friday and into the weekend. We're expecting some severe weather here, so it should be interesting and dicey. But have a great weekend, everybody, and thanks so much for coming forward and joining Your Career Live here on Your Career Community at johnGself.com.